Zhong Myung-hoon attempts the Seven Stars ritual to advance his cultivation, but is thwarted by unyielding dark clouds, a phenomenon known as heavenly rejection. Despite his and his master Jin Jin Chan's hopes that the clouds would pass, they persist until morning, making the ritual impossible. For 2 months, every attempt is blocked the same way, prompting frantic research by the sect's elders. They discover that even the sect founder once faced this phenomenon, but overcame it with mysterious talent. Attempts to use magical artifacts fail, since Jeon Myung-hoon lacks the cultivation necessary to activate them, creating an inescapable paradox. Jin Byuk Ho, the supreme sect master, compares Jeon Myung-hoon's struggle to Seo Yoon-hyun, who faced similar clouds but simply blasted them apart with lightning, sailing through the ritual with ease. The elders summon Seo Yoon-hyun, hoping he can explain his method, but he downplays his feat, knowing the real solution is not something others can easily imitate. Instead, he suggests an alternative method that gives the elders hope. Meanwhile, Jeon Myung-hoon despairs at his lack of progress. Jin So-hae, a fellow disciple, chides him for not dedicating himself more completely to cultivation. With her encouragement and the help of Hong Fan, a giant centipede demon beast connected to one of the sect's nascent soul elders, Jeon Myung, Hoon studies the underlying principles of his accumulating lightning technique. Under Hong Fan's patient guidance, he delves deeply into the method of understanding before breakthrough, hoping to awaken the true power of the technique and overcome the heavenly rejection. A decade passes. Jeon Myung-hoon has mastered the accumulating lightning technique to the point where red lightning, sign of true mastery, flares around him. Yet no matter how much he rages at the sky or how desperately he tries, he cannot pierce the dark clouds and complete the ritual. Isolated and feeling betrayed by the sect, he's left with only a few loyal friends. The frustration, anger, and sense of inferiority towards Seo Yoon-hyun twist inside him, but he clings to the hope that if his technique evolves further, he will break through and prove himself at last. Elsewhere, Seo Eun-hyun has quietly accomplished the monumental task of mastering all 9,562 lightning path methods in the sect, a feat so legendary that even other grand elders are in awe. Hong Soo-ryong, another powerful elder, discusses the secret that the sect's myriad techniques may actually be fragments of a single original method, lost and divided since the founder's time. Back with Jeon Myung-hoon, Jin Jin Chan finally appears after years of absence. Recognizing Jeon Myung-hoon's technical mastery, he delivers devastating news. The Grand Elders have decided that Jeon Myung-hoon's heavenly golden thunder body is wasted on him. They plan to extract his spiritual root and transfer it to someone else, using Jeon Myung-hoon as nothing more than an ingredient for a pill. As Jin Jin Chan reaches out with cold intent, Jeon Myung-hoon stands on the brink of disaster, betrayed by those he trusted most. Jeon Myung-hoon, imprisoned in the Thunder Prison and reeling from the horrifying revelation that he is to be refined into an elixir, is consumed by fear and despair. Just as he faces the hopelessness of his fate, Jin So-hae stealthily breaks him out, urging him to move quietly and quickly. She leads him to a departure peak where flying magic artifacts are moored and insists he escape using one, while she stays behind to mislead the sect's elders. Though Jeon Myung-hoon is bewildered by her help, she brushes off his gratitude, loading him onto the vessel and promising to delay pursuit. As Jeon Myung-hoon boards the ship, Hong Fan, now a core formation demon beast, appears, revealing that several elders secretly support Jeon Myung-hoon and have arranged for his escape. Jeon Myung-hoon is reassured and, with Hong Fan piloting, they make their desperate bid for freedom. As they flee, Jin Jin Chen, Jeon's master, unleashes a remnant soul in the form of a giant lightning avatar, relentlessly pursuing them. Jeon Myung-hoon discovers that he can absorb the lightning attacks, converting them into spiritual power with his accumulating lightning technique, and is forced to use this power to shield the ship as Hong Fan races for the boundary of Thunder Spirit Island. Each possible escape route east, northwest, and finally south is blocked by Grand Elders and the sect's formations. As the escape becomes increasingly desperate, the elders use Jeon Myung-hoon's own lightning to form massive red dragon vein pillars, transforming the entire island into a vast ritual altar. When Jeon Myung-hoon is finally confronted by Jin Jin Chan at the southern end, his master unexpectedly apologizes, revealing that the entire sect has spent a decade preparing a formation for Jeon Myung-hoon's 7 Stars ritual, amplifying his own power to help him overcome the heavenly rejection. On Thundercloud Peak, Jeon Myung-hoon Overwhelmed by the realization that all the years of what he thought was neglect and disdain were actually preparation and concern for his success, begins the Seven Stars ritual under the sign of the Azure Dragon. Using the massive energy gathered from the dragon vein in the altar, he channels his own amplified lightning to pierce the heavens, finally breaking through the heavenly rejection and advancing to the seventh star of Qi refining. Meanwhile, Seo Unhyun, having mastered all 9,000 lightning methods of the sect, faces his own tribulation, using a nameless formula derived from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, a technique left by Yang Soo-jin, the sect's founder and likely another person from Earth. By reciting the full text, Seo Yoon unifies the sect's lightning methods, advancing to the mid-nascent soul stage but losing the lightning attribute in the process, leaving only attribute, less spiritual power. While Hong Soo-ryong expresses regret at this loss, Seo Yoon-hyun is convinced there is deeper meaning to the formula, and, upon realizing the omission of the 30th article, triggers a vision in a dark void. There he meets the golden deity Yang Soo-jin, who warns him of an entity called the Light that follows the Emperor's will and lurks ever near, signaling a new and deeper mystery for Seo Yoon-hyun and the fate of their world. The conversation begins in darkness, where a warning is given about the Light, term referring to one of the governing immortals, beings who have surpassed even true immortals, with only 10 such entities in existence across the 3,000 worlds. As this knowledge is revealed, an oppressive force causes a terrifying reaction, nearly dissolving the body of the listener out of pure existential fear. Yang Soo-jin intervenes, restoring him and explaining that the mere awareness of such beings usually isn't so overwhelming unless one is being observed by a governing immortal. He then deduces that the master of the netherworld has become aware of an Ender's presence and is preparing to descend, but assures there is still time to speak due to an old pact. As the information piles up, it is revealed that the master of the netherworld is one of the 4 heavenly venerables and the owner of light. Another supreme deity relentlessly pursues Enders. The protagonist learns that the Emperor, the true ruler who commands the owner of light, is the one ultimately targeting Enders. Yet Yang Soo-jin confesses he does not know who this entity truly is, as his consciousness is but a fragment, split off before facing that being. He suggests that the only one who might know is the master of the netherworld, the oldest of all the supreme deities and venerables, but warns that such a being only offers cooperation to Enders of equal strength and otherwise seeks to imprison them forever. The conversation turns to the reason for this meeting. Yang Soo-jin wants to determine if the protagonist is a successor sharing his fate or just another Ender. Fates are fixed for Enders, and each generation's Enders receive new, optimal abilities from the world. It's revealed that the protagonist's fate is different, but just as wretched. Yang Soo-jin explains that he founded the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect and created techniques meant to change his own vile fate, methods only possible for those sharing his fate or possessing the Heavenly Golden Thunder body. The ultimate technique, the extinguishing, divine, tribulating heavens technique, is more ritual than cultivation, a prayer to alter fate itself. Even after centuries of effort, Yang Soo-jin failed to achieve his wish, admitting that changing fate was an unattainable dream. As the protagonist reflects on the sect being essentially a ritual object for a failed attempt at fate changing, he challenges Yang Soo-jin's harsh view of his legacy, referencing the incorporation of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights into the sect's teaching. Yang Soo-jin responds by demanding a definition of human and proclaims that only those with freedom or the potential for it, namely the Enders, can be considered truly human. All others, including true immortals, are non-human in his radical worldview, leaving the protagonist stunned and speechless at the extremity of his claim. In the darkness of the netherworld, a conversation unfolds with Yang Soo-jin, who has reached the pinnacle of true immortals and whose mind has become distant from ordinary humanity. He declares that only the Enders are free, that all others in this world are slaves to fate, and all their actions, words, and emotions are predetermined. When challenged about the Heart Tribe, who are said to resist fate, Yang Soo-jin laughs bitterly and claims the Heart Tribe's very existence is evidence of fate's dominance. They only appear before Enders, disappear after, and are essentially created as part of fate's design, not as true rebels. He presses a series of questions about why the Heart Tribe only appears in certain realms and why their presence is so peculiar, concluding that they never truly exist outside fate's will. The discussion turns to the protagonist and other transmigrators, beings from a world without fate who carry the potential for true freedom. Yang Soo-jin admits that even he, despite his power, is not yet truly free, but insists that the power to resist fate can be passed on. As the oppressive presence of the netherworld grows near, Yang Su-jin begins to transfer the extinguishing divine, tribulating heavens technique, a ritual and power to slightly twist fate and defy the overwhelming odds imposed by powerful beings. The knowledge pours into the protagonist's mind, rooted in the will to defy fate, and is accompanied by countless ritual formulas. As the master of the netherworld approaches, Yang Su-jin's form begins to dissipate. He urges the protagonist to proclaim that Enders are the true humans, and hints that more messages from Enders remain to be found, especially by seeking out lovers whose names are tied to cause and connection, and meeting with Blood Yin after gaining strength. With a final push, the protagonist is ejected from the space of darkness, and Yang Su-jin's last advice echoes, "In the netherworld, never look back, and enter the straight, narrow path to move on." The protagonist awakens in the real world, physically exhausted, drenched in cold sweat, and overwhelmed by the encounter with the vast, eldritch entity of the netherworld. Grateful for Yang Su-jin's protection from the being's gaze, he struggles back to his cave and collapses into sleep. Upon waking, Jin Byuk-ho stands before him, demanding to see his wrist, signaling the next challenge awaiting him. When Jin Byuk-ho requests to examine my wrist, I realize he's about to confirm what has happened within me. After his careful inspection, he expresses disbelief that I managed to master every method of the sect within 10 years and, even more so, that I have enacted a legendary technique known only in sect lore. He identifies the technique as the extinguishing divine tribulating heavens, a hidden enlightenment left by the sect's founder. This technique, once cultivated, strips away all previously acquired lightning path methods, rendering their power attribute less and transparent. More importantly, it erases the spiritual roots and the lightning sacred body, turning the practitioner into a mortal unable to cultivate further, unless they achieve the heavenly being stage, which could offer a solution. Jin Byuk-ho is troubled but not angry, explaining that should I find a rare spiritual elixir, restoring my spiritual roots is possible, yet the loss of my lightning sacred body is far more significant. He reassures me that despite my fundamentally changed state, I am still valued as a mid-nascent soul elder and will not be expelled from the sect. The sect's legacy and my experience still matter. He promises to send me special elixirs, commends my achievements, and leaves me to recover. Alone, I reflect and discover that the curse of lightning transformation that plagued me for centuries has finally vanished, a liberation granted by the attribute, less state of my power. Although my ability to cultivate seems lost, I attempt to circulate spiritual energy through the Dragon Vine Chi method. To my surprise, my 5 element spiritual roots begin to regenerate, restoring my ability to absorb spiritual energy and returning me to my former strength. With the Yang spirit established, my path to late nascent soul is now clear. I realize, however, that the sect no longer understands the true nature or regulations surrounding the extinguishing divine tribulating heavens technique. Determined to learn more, I summon Hongfan, my demon beast companion, and request the list of all new disciples from the past decade. Scanning the list, I locate the name I'm searching for. Yongjin, a rapidly rising disciple who recently attracted attention. Hongfan brings Yongjin to my cave, and I quickly discern that Yongjin is hiding her true identity. After offering spiritual tea and activating isolation formations, I politely address her as a senior. This provokes a transformation. Yan Jin's Yan and Yang reverse, and she reveals herself as Yan Wei, her ancestor. Now face to face with Yan Wei, I prepare to ask the questions that will unravel the true secrets of the sect's hidden inheritance. Tense mental confrontation unfolds between two powerful cultivators. As a sudden consciousness attack is easily deflected, with the curse lifted and the pressure eased, questions are finally exchanged. The conversation turns to the forbidden, extinguishing divine tribulating heavens technique, a legendary method said to defy the heavens themselves. Its secrets, long hidden within the golden divine heavenly thunder sect, are revealed. Only through an absolute expulsion by the sect's ancestral command can its true mastery be achieved. This ritual, intended as punishment, is actually the key to unleashing the technique's full potential. The internal rules of the sect are discussed, warning that the technique must never be revealed to the Heavenly Lightning Banner or used in its presence, and that it should never be displayed before higher beings, for it brings calamity. The Heavenly Lightning Banner itself is confirmed as a cursed artifact, notorious even among the sect's elders for spewing endless venom and curses when summoned, far from the sacred relic it's supposed to be. The plan emerges to one day steal the banner and seal it away, but to reach the place where it can be sealed, the Heavenly Being stage must be attained, or a powerful resonance must draw kindred spirits together across realms. Pressed for more about the sect's ancient past, Yanwei refuses to answer, the pain of that history clearly unresolved. The conversation closes with a promise, solemnly sworn on a nascent soul, to protect her and her descendant. As Yan Jin regains control of his body and expresses his thanks, a new determination forms to ascend to the Heavenly Being stage, face the sect's true power, and fulfill the fate that now lies ahead. The realization settles that only through severance and sacrifice can the highest martial peaks be reached. And with one last glance at the skull holding the six extremes, Yin Thunder Spirit, the path toward Black Ghost Valley, and the next stage of destiny comes into view. Jian Myung-hoon, after a decade of arduous cultivation and completing the 7 stars ritual, awakens to the key refining 7th star, newly able to perceive celestial energy and his own lifespan. Elated by his progress, he looks forward to his cultivation path becoming smoother, free from more rituals, until he reaches core formation. As he observes Hangfan, now a massive centipede, and the amusing chaos of Hangfan carrying off a terrified disciple, Jean Myung-hoon's mood is light. His life, once marked by social awkwardness and isolation, has slowly transformed, especially as Jin So-hae approaches and informs him that his dual cultivation partner will be chosen. Unlike his former desperate attitude, Jean Myung-hoon earnestly proposes to Jin So-hae, openly expressing how her companionship and the sex support have changed his sense of belonging. Moved by his sincerity and curiosity at his growth, Jin So-hae accepts to become his dual cultivation partner, though she reserves judgment on becoming Dao companion. Over the following month, Jeon Myung-hoon's cultivation explodes forward. With the help of dual cultivation and the removal of prior blocks, he soars from Chi refining 7th star to 14th star, the unified origin and infinite spiritual cloud stages, reaching the peak of Chi refining. After a brief celebration with Jin So-hae and helping her cultivate, Jeon Myung-hoon prepares to enter Chi building. He visits friends who supported him over the years. Aware that his relationships will change after advancing, he meets Hong Fan, who tells him that his own master is about to reach the grand perfection of nascent soul. Jo Myung-hoon promises to visit after both breakthroughs, then returns to his cave, where Jin So-hae insists they cultivate together to maximize his preparation. The next day, Jeon Myung-hoon ascends to the Chi building stage, enduring a pillar of blue lightning from the heavenly tribulation, which his heavenly golden thunder body absorbs as a potent weapon. This new power fills him with confidence and a sense of near invincibility, knowing he can now store and unleash the heavenly tribulation as an attack. Meanwhile, far away, a storm of heavenly tribulation signals an extraordinary breakthrough. The story shifts to Seo Yun-hyun, who is in the midst of transcending from mid to late nascent soul, the stage of as long-lived as the 5 great mountains, having mastered the balance of the 5 elements. He weaves the sun, moon, and 5 great mountains into a spiritual diagram behind him, separating yin and yang, and establishing the imperial throne for his nascent soul. Through an intense journey of consciousness, Seo Yun-hyun traverses his memories and the cycles of his life, finally understanding the true nature of his existence, life as the union of heaven and earth, his parents as the world itself, and the Taiji symbol as the origin of all life. As he takes his seat on the imperial throne within the map of the sun, moon, and 5 great mountains, Seo Yun-hyun's nascent soul attains completion. He then faces the final, most powerful, dual-colored heavenly lightning tribulation, but is unharmed by its strike. With a single gesture, pure force flows from him, splitting the heavens and dispersing the tribulation, signaling that after 2.5 millennia, Seo Yun-hyun stands at the threshold of the heavenly being stage. After stabilizing his cultivation at the grand perfection, nascent soul stage, a powerful aura emanates from the cave, drawing the golden divine heavenly thunder sect's most influential elders, including Jin Byuk-ho. The entire sect is gripped by shock and elation at this achievement, especially since Unhyun mastered every sect art except the lightning path method, yet still reached such a pinnacle. Jin Byuk-ho publicly nominates Seo Unhyun as the next sect leader, and the rest of the elders unanimously support the appointment, bestowing upon him the surname Jin and the symbolic golden belt, making him Jin Yun, the next sect leader. News of Jin Yunhyun's rise spreads quickly, and preparations begin for a grand celebration, with invitations sent to sects across all the Sky Islands. Meanwhile, Jeon Myung-hoon, who has always felt inferior and competitive toward Seo Eun-hyun, is stunned to realize just how far ahead Eun-hyun has risen. Brought by Hong Fan to meet Yong-hyun, Jeon Myung-hoon is forced to face reality. During their tea meeting, Jeon Myung-hoon admits his own laziness and vows to devote himself entirely to cultivation, no longer wishing to live in Eun-hyun's shadow, but to surpass him through hard work. After their conversation, he feels both a sense of relief and lingering frustration, especially when he hears of Jin Yun-yun's formal appointment as the next sect leader, a post he always believed would be his own. Renewed by determination and jealousy, he throws himself into cultivation with redoubled effort. 1 month later, Jin Yun-hyun's celebration draws envoys from across the Cloud Island archipelago, including powerful integration stage avatars. Azure Tiger Saint, a prominent guest, tries to recruit Jin Yun-yun for his own sect, but Yun-yun politely refuses out of loyalty to the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect. As festivities continue, Yun-hyun notes the curious absence of Black Ghost Valley's envoy, suspecting it's due to ongoing turmoil and war on Black Mist Island. He had hoped to enlist their help in sealing the Heavenly Lightning Banner, but now must consider other means. Suddenly, the celebration is interrupted by a violent explosion. A woman in black, Hong Wei, mid-stage heavenly being, appears, having launched a powerful attack directly at Jin Yun-hyun. Her identity unsettles even the highest elders present. She brazenly declares herself the daughter of a grand cultivator and, without preamble, proposes marriage to Jin Yun-hyun, leaving everyone, especially him, utterly speechless. The celebratory atmosphere is shattered when Hon Wei, daughter of the powerful Palace Lord of the Heaven, Earth Palace, and Penglai Palace, suddenly proposes marriage. Her assertive declaration stuns everyone, but before anything can escalate, Hong Su Ryong intervenes, nearly attacking Hon Wei with a flying sword. Jinbyu Ho barely manages to calm the situation, mediating between the two formidable women. Hon Wei then reveals her prestigious lineage and the immense advantages she can offer: a direct connection to the Penglai Palace, access to exclusive cultivation techniques, and the support of vast resources. Unfazed by the initial rejection, Han Wei dramatically pours out an enormous fortune in spirit stones, covering the entire summit of Thundercloud Peak, making it clear just how serious and resourceful she is. She promises even greater support should the marriage go through, further tempting the sect with the prospect of prosperity. After her flamboyant exit, the sect is left reeling, many congratulating Jin Eun-hyun for attracting such fortune, even as he and Hong Su Ryung exchange wary glances, both sensing that Han Wei's intentions are far from simple. The sect elders convene to discuss this unexpected proposal. They review Han Wei's background, her age, her status as one of the Palace Lord's many children, her relative lack of cultivation progress despite abundant resources, and the immense political and material benefits her alliance could bring. Jin Byuk-ho acknowledges the potential for the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect to rise among the human race's leading powers with Penglai Palace's support, but emphasizes the importance of the wishes of those directly involved. Hong Soo-young, however, dismisses Han Wei's offer with disdain, making it clear she has no intention of giving up her dual cultivation partner, especially not to someone she sees as undeserving despite her wealth and background. Amidst this political and personal intrigue, the future of alliances and relationships within the sect hangs in the balance. After the meeting regarding the sudden marriage proposal from Lady Han Wei, Jin Byuk-ho and Hong Soo-young discuss her true intentions, concluding that Han Wei sees not just Jin Yun-hyun but the entire sect as tools, her mischievous persona merely an act to mask a calculating and hollow heart. Hong Soo-young warns Jin Byuk-ho to be wary in any future dealings with her. After the elders disperse, Jin Yun-hyun remains behind to speak with Jin Bo-ho. He credits his ascension to the bright cold realm to the arrangements left by the sect's founder, the Golden Deity, guiding Jin Byuk. Ho to believe that his lightning sacred body was also a gift from the founder. Jin Yun Yun then reveals the true contents of the stele at the Ascension Gate, warning that the immortal treasure, the heavenly lightning banner, must not be brought to the higher realms as it is linked to the true immortal. Jin Byuk Ho listens gravely and explains the heavy consequences of sealing the heavenly lightning banner in the lower realm. The sect's power is deeply tied to the Wall Force Constitution, granted through the Jin surname by the heavenly lightning banner. If the banner is taken away, the vast majority of elders and disciples, most carrying the Jin surname, would lose their cultivation, devastating the sect's strength. He explains the ritualistic purpose of the Jin surname and how only a select few are able to ascend with their power intact, using rare, heavenly lightning belt created through an artifact called the Ancestral Command. Producing enough belts for all would take tens of thousands of years. Jinbyuk Ho reassures that ancient records suggest they have at least 1,000 years before any true immortal could threaten their realm, believing they have time to prepare. John Myung-hoon to wield the heavenly lightning banner's power safely before sealing it away. Jing Yoon, aware of the looming far greater threat and the rigidity of fate, debates whether to risk the sect's destruction for the sake of the world's balance or to try to strengthen Jeong Myung-hoon in the limited time left. Deciding for now to focus on rapidly improving Jeon Myung-hoon's cultivation, he heads toward his cave, determined to use any method necessary to prepare him before calamity arrives. Just as he resolves this, he remembers Hong Soo-young's summons and heads to her cave residence. There, she tells him bluntly that, having lost his lightning sacred body, she wishes to experiment on him and, with equal nonchalance, proposes dual cultivation, giving him the choice of which to begin with.